Visser with us. And Austin, I feel like at this point, you're just, I think I mentioned it last time, but you're really just an honorary guest at this point I mean, actually, you're really an honorary co-host at this point on the
Yeah.
Black Sheep
You've
podcast
been
because
on
you've
far
been
too
on
many
so many
times,
times.
man.
I don't know what that says about me, if I'm like an easy person to get a hold of and I'm desperate to get on podcasts,
Or
we
maybe
just
you're
got
the Black
along.
Sheep groupie.
Yeah,
Maybe you're the
Yeah.
Black Sheep
well,
groupie.
so maybe I should start declining. But hey, if all I'm going to say is if one of you guys can't make it to host a podcast, I mean, just give me a call and I'll step in at any moment. So I'm always down to hang.
There we go.
That is a great idea. Austin, obviously we want to talk about Furnace Fest, but before we do that, how are you just doing in general, man? Like you're fixing showers, you're dealing with AirPod issues. I mean, it sounds like
You're
life
obsessed
is
with
like,
Cocomelon.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like life is really it's beating the shit out of you right now.
I feel like I've said some of that stuff, hoping that it wouldn't make on the podcast, and you guys just like aired all my dirty laundry. So,
man, if that's the dirtiest laundry you've got, you're doing well. Way better than most church pastors, right?
Yeah,
I'm not a pastor anymore, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, so now your life actually becomes more clean, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I prefer not to talk about that. Mason, don't you have a theology podcast that we could talk about some of that?
Yeah, and I work for a seminary too. I mean, there's lots of dirty laundry we could talk about.
Well, so I'm doing good. We're recording this like at the end of June, and my family has been sick on and off for like the past month. So I have 3 kids, and it's just one of those times where it happens where the colds and flus just bounce around to each other. So if you can hear it in my voice, I'm starting to get over something. But I had a flu last week, and then as soon as you think you're done with that, you get a cold, and then so my wife and I are kind of going crazy. But then at the same time, we're in that season of life where we've been in our house for like 12, 13 years or so. And if we don't keep up on some of the maintenance stuff, you just fall behind. And so I fixed our screens the other day, and then I was late to the recording of this because, we're replacing a shower and tub in our bathroom because our kids cracked the tub and we've only had one shower. And it's one of those things where I could keep pushing off something. And my wife and I were just like, we have to do this. So I like ripped out the tub this past weekend and we're replacing it today. So
how does a child crack a tub? How's that even possible?
Do you really want to get into this?
Yeah.
One, I think it's a faulty tub. Like it wasn't designed well.
Like, was it like is it like a plastic tub or like a cast iron tub or
fiberglass is what it was. So I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. And what happens is one of my kids, when they're done in their bath, God, I hate you guys for making me tell the story. They'll take a soap bar. Well, they'll take a soap bar and like line the tub with soap, and they'll kind of just slip and slide back and forth. And I think having done that too many times, I think they just kind of wore out the tub. So there's a ton of things in my house with 9-year-old, 7-year-old, and a 2.5-year-old where there's just like cracks in the drywall, crayons. I'm looking outside at an area where there's chalk on the wall, and some of that stuff we're just like letting go because at some point they'll just do it again next week. And specifically the 2.5-year-old. Like the 9-year-old at this point knows that he's not supposed to draw on the walls. But they scooter inside the house, so our floors always have dings and whatnot. So anyways, life is good. I can't complain.
It sounds like you got a good concept for the next Undertaking album.
Home repairs and maintenance.
Just dad home shit.
The question is, which is more chaotic, an Undertaking show or your household?
Oh, my household for sure. Like that's not even a question about it.
But both involve you yelling though.
No, I don't yell at home. I'm pretty, I'm a good dad. Let me just say that. That song, the worship song, the good father. That's about me.
It's who you are. It's who you are.
But no, I'm not much of a yeller, but yeah, my house is chaos. I always tell people my life is chaos. Like I have a buddy, Squeege, on Twitter. If you listen to this, shout out. I'm sorry. I owe him a feature on a song, and I just have not gotten to it because my life is just chaos. And trying to find time to do stuff like that is impossible. And he was like, "Hey, you got a chance to do this?" And I'm like, I suck, and I'm sorry. So one of these days, yes, I'll do it.
You know who else you owe a feature to on one of your next songs?
Yeah.
Have you heard Cullen sing before? Do you need?
Yeah,
if you need like a good like clean singing little moment in one of your songs, because you don't do that very often at all, really.
Yeah.
If you need one though, Cullen's your guy.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I'll pull out some like Chris Cornell type stuff. We'll have a blast.
I'm down. But yeah, life is good. I'm behind on all my movies and TV shows because all I do is play the new Zelda game. But I just caught up on The Bear. So if you guys watch The Bear,
we watched.
I'm going through season 1 right now.
Second season. Yeah.
Okay, dude. Season 1. I don't know if you could top season 1 because it's kind of perfect television. But season 2, man, it's so good. Do me a favor and keep me in the loop which episodes you watch because there's a couple that I was like just like weeping out of sheer happiness. I don't know. It's so good. I love it. So
it's a great show. All right, I feel like people need to know the context about the Undertaking and Furnace Fest. So here's the thing. Many months ago, you and I had already talked about that you were going to be coming to Furnace Fest as an attendee. In fact, we had like housing arrangements and everything like lined up. We were, we got an Airbnb, so you're going to come and hang out with us. And we were just going to go to Furnace Fest, hang out as attendees. And then about a month or so ago, one of my favorite bands, at least one of the bands that I was looking forward to most seeing was Loathe. And then they dropped out because they got like, who was it that they were like Chevelle? And there was some like big, like kind of
like Seventh Day Slumber or 3 days, like Three Doors Down or something like that from the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. Some weird, like it's a weird pairing with Loathe, but also it's probably gonna be one of their biggest tours ever. So like, I can't blame them for wanting to take that tour. So it meant that they weren't going to be able to come to Furnace Fest. And so like Furnace Fest did last year, they did a vote. Now you guys were pretty close last year. What you finished like top 10, top 5 or something like that last year?
No, I don't know where we finished. We tapered out towards the end of that competition. So we actually didn't move forward through like the final 2 rounds, but we did. I mean, that's part of the inception of this story is that competition last year.
Yeah.
And us kind of doing it as a joke. So finish your thought. Or are you done?
Well, I was just going to say, and then obviously they did the vote this year. And it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to obviously put all my support into Undertaking, but I had no idea, like, if, like, some of those other bands, like, they've got a lot of Instagram followers and shit. Like, I had no idea, like, what the chances were. And yet you guys kept, like, moving into, like, kind of each round or whatever, if there were rounds. And it just, like, felt like, wow, this might happen. And then
gaining some steam.
And then it happened. But yeah, I don't know if you have more backstory around last year and then leading up to this year. But yeah, tell us about, like, just this whole story from your perspective.
Well, it's very overwhelming to be completely candid. And part of my flaws is I don't really have a filter. So I'll try to filter some like unnecessary parts of the story out, but I'll try to be honestly as candid as possible. And it starts like 2 years ago. One, we're still such like a newish band. We're about to celebrate like kind of 4 years playing shows in the end of July. And so we've still just kind of, in 2 of those years was a pandemic. So we've kind of only been playing shows and being active for like 2 years, maybe a little bit more. And so Furnace Fest 2021 happens and you're just like, geez Christ, like that's like an insane lineup. We got to go. But for us, like the East Coast was so far. So it's like, okay, I don't know if I could do that. At that time, 2 years ago, I had like a 7, 5, and my wife was pregnant, so that wasn't really an option to go. And even if you've heard my interviews on this podcast before, you've heard us talk about kids and how that's really valuable time for me to be able to take it away. So long story short, we go out to Birmingham in April and do that tour. And I met Johnny Grimes and we saw Sloths. We went and visited it. And we're just like, at that point, I got home and I talked to my wife and I was like, I kind of just have to do this. This is something I feel like, for me and my musical background and being part of the scene for so many years, like I have to make this trek out to like the metalcore mecca, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like the pilgrimage you have to at least take once in your life.
Yeah.
Well, and then part of that
too, go on Hajj.
Well, meeting people like you in person, and we've talked about that, just how many people over the last couple of years that we've met online that now we get to meet in person, and it's just this really cool bond that we have, that we talk, every couple of days via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and stuff, and then be able to be like, yo, I'm a real person. And like funny story about that is when we toured with Chris Ratzlaff and Joe Calderone with Lightworker and Fallstar the first time, Chris thought I was a short guy and he thought Joe was a tall guy. So then when we met, he was like totally blown away the fact that I'm like 6'3" and I was tall. He was like, man, I had you pegged as like a completely different person online. So that's a little bit of the backstory. But one, I can't really even go further without thanking everybody for voting for us. Cause that's what I'm saying. It's like overwhelming because at some point we got the support to get on Furnace Fest, like arguably the coolest thing for a band like us and our style and our background and whatnot, to be able to get on a festival like that is just a unreal opportunity. There's a part of me that just wishes I could attend the festival. And so now that we have to play, I'm like, dang, like now we gotta like, perform and be on and kind of, I don't get nervous, but like in the back of your head, you're going to have the butterflies and like a little bit of like the anxiety of like, frick, we got to play. So kind of hoping we play on Friday. We don't know what day we're playing yet, but I kind of hope we're playing on Friday so we can get it over with. Just like play at noon. Like I texted you guys, like play at noon to 20 people and then be like, all right, we did it. We did the thing. Now we can hang out. But then there's part of me that also wants to play on Saturday. So then on Friday, I could go around and like tell people like, hey, tomorrow, like I'd love to see you guys come out to our set. And then I don't want to play on Sunday. Well, we'll play whenever they tell us to play, but I don't want to play on Sunday because then that's just like delaying the anxiety for like multiple days. I just want to get it out of the way.
You're gonna be like trying to like save your voice, make sure you don't get sick again and all that stuff.
Exactly. But no, so it starts last year where they somebody what happened last year during their competition is somebody tagged us and all of a sudden like I get a ping. And it's one of those things where if there's ever an opportunity for somebody to tag the Undertaking in something, I just always assume like that's not going to happen. Like nobody cares enough, whatever. I'm not even trying to be like, woe is us. You're just not going to like, oh, who's the up and coming band that we need to check out? And then if somebody tags us in something, you're just like, man, that's really cool. So anyways, last year we start getting these pings, ping, 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 ping. And then like 10 people had said the Undertaking for the who should get this vote. And at that point we're like, oh, we recorded some videos. Hey, wouldn't it be funny if we like actually got to play Furnace Fest and you guys voted us in? And bang, we get like a post from Furnace Fest, like you guys are in the top 20 bands. And I start calling my band guys. I'm like, hey man, I think this is kind of like a real thing. Like there's like it's not like a not good chance that we could get it. But then what happened, and I'm a sore loser and very competitive. So if you hear that tone from me, obviously I'm not over it yet, but we had like big bands get involved and people can say we're a bigger band than some of the local guys. I get that, but we're pretty small if you look at our Spotify numbers and Instagram followers and stuff. So I feel like
and you don't have those mall connections apparently.
Well, so then you had these bands with like 100,000 followers, like pulling out ads on Facebook, and you had the multipliers, and I don't know, man, we just got boat race towards the end, and it was a fun ride, and we'll take that like free publicity, and made some cool connections through just like asking people to vote and then be able to follow up and just say, hey, thank you for voting for us. We really appreciate it. But then, like I said, going out to Furnace Fest, it was like, okay, how can we make this happen? I had then committed to going. I was about to buy my plane tickets, and then bang, the next competition happens. And it was they changed the structure a little bit, so it wasn't as like a Wild Wild West type of thing. So there was a nomination, and I guess we got enough nominations to make it past that first stage. And then the second round of voting was just in that Furnace Fest Facebook group online. Mm-hmm. And then bang, we make it past that because we're always working on networking and connections. And I feel like online we've made like a lot of friends that are part of that circle and crew. And so I guess we made it past that, and then that's where it got kind of wild because that's where it's like literally just like texting every single person, like pandering to people like, hey, this is really important to us, could you please vote for us for this thing? Now here's my 2 cents on that. We don't pander to people often. So like if we play a local show in San Diego, which we don't play in San Diego often, we're not like the band that's always telling people like, hey man, like come out to this show. Like we respect our friends' time. So what I'm saying is we don't ask our good friends for favors often. And so for us, it was a couple of times where it was like, hey, I think this is kind of real. And then it was like, oh, we moved on to the next round. And I started texting like the band, Johnny, Keith, and Brent. And I was like, hey, can you guys like just make sure that September 21 through 24, you're available?
You're free.
And then, and it's like, okay, now it's like a real thing. So you got to text every freaking person in your phone and just be like, hey, I know you haven't heard from me in a while, but my band's up for this big festival. Is there any way you can vote for us? It takes like 30 seconds. And dude, the support that we got from our friends and family, and then just people online that have come to our shows and participated in what we bring as a band, like they showed up and did it. And it's probably honestly, I mean, I can't over stress how cool this opportunity is for us. like like it's a really cool thing. Probably the second coolest thing we've ever done, other than signing the one album contract with Solid State and being able to put that album out. Like that was like a dream come true. But then for us to like win a competition like this and then be able to play on the same festival as like a lot of these bands is probably the second coolest thing we did. So then Elena from the Furnace Fest like lets us know that we win, and I got to call my boys and say, "Dude, we got it." And it's kind of one of those things of like, is this real? Is this possible? Like, what's the gimmick? Are they going to recount the votes? Like, is Trump going to get involved with this and say it's not real? Like,
stop the steal.
Yeah, we're pretty close to Georgia, so you got to be careful there.
A couple people didn't know that you were joking, by the way. So I had to be
really?
Like, that's our friend. Like he's joking and playing into it. So, but then the coolest thing for us is we got to text. Like I had so many people that I got to text back and be like, "Hey, we won, and thank you for supporting us, and thank you for voting for us." And it was a tedious task because I was trying to like thank as many people that got involved as possible. But it was really cool because there was some genuine support and genuine happiness for the Undertaking, which is just silly because it's this band that we started 4 or 5 years ago to say like, hey, we're a bunch of dads trying to, just play some rock and roll and have some fun again. And for us to be able to have some like cool success like that is really, really neat and really meaningful. And yeah, now I'm starting to do like a deep dive on a lot of the bands that we're going to see, and just really cool to be able to put our name on that flyer. I have a wall of some of the stuff that we've accomplished over the years, like when we played with Fall of Troy and a couple of our tour flyers. And so I'm really excited to be able to print that off and put that up next to it, just to have our name on a flyer next to Turnstile and MXPX and Norma Jean, and just some of the bands that we've looked up to and listened to over the course of our career. And then just if you're listening to this and you voted for us, man, I thank you immensely for doing that, and it means the world to each of us and our families and kind of what we're able to do. And yeah, it's really neat. And I know that there are some people that were not happy with how it turned out, and I understand that. Like that's bound to happen regardless.
But I mean, that happened to you guys last year, so
Yeah.
like know what it's like.
Someone's got to be a loser, right?
Hardcore Hotline was like, man, you guys are salty in some of the competitions, and I was like, man, my cholesterol is going to be so high because I'm eating all the salt right now. I love it. We're just like consuming it all. Does salt increase your cholesterol? I don't even know. Whatever, the high blood pressure, like
yeah, who knows?
I think it's like
I think butter does that. You know what you should do is you should probably pick up a couple of extra shows in that area just so you can make it extra worthwhile, so more people can see you.
I know we're mulling that over. It's so hard for us, especially with kids. Our guitarist Keith just had a kid in May, their first kid, and so we actually
Keith.
We're stoked for him. He actually hung out with us for the first time. Like we gave him space to be able to be with his family and stuff. And we withdrew from audio feed. There was the Pleasant Underground Festival that we were supposed to do in Detroit that we withdrew from just to give us a little bit more time. So anyways, point is we are kind of mulling over if we could do like another mini tour in the East, but I don't think that's going to work out. But we might try to pick up like a house show or just do something silly like that. But yeah, we're flying in Thursday, going to hit up the Meadows pre-show. Even though it's sold out, we're going to like be the guitar techs for a Symphony in Peril or something to get into that show.
Hell yeah. Do it.
I'm glad that voter intimidation works. I was trying my best on those Facebook groups to, threaten people about, voting for you guys. So, I never knew that voting intimidation worked that well, but it did.
No, we had some good support with you guys, with All Consuming, the Discord that we're involved. Those guys supported us a ton. Obviously, Josh, I don't know what your last name is because you change your name on every social, but Welch or Todd or whatever. But he's our buddy. He was making some silly videos for us, and yeah, we had some fun with it. But at the end, man, I told Elena, I was like, dude, I'm toast. I'm like a fake extrovert, so having to like engage with people and texting and being on our socials and reposting and like trying to just muster up as many votes as possible. I was like zonked the next day. But yeah, we're stoked. We're trying to figure out what that looks like now. I mean, oops, we're playing Furnace Fest, so we got to get merch. We got to get some more vinyls because we're almost out of those. We got to like figure out our set and all that kind of stuff. So it's fun.
The question is there going to be Bikini Bottom vinyls available?
Oh.
Man, dude, shout out. This is not a name and shame, but you guys didn't pick one of those up, did you?
No.
I already had one of the original, so
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna get the Bikini Bottom one, but yeah, I
So,
saw it
so
and I was like, damn, I really wish I would have waited for that one.
Same.
Albums of Bikini Bottoms, a massive account on online that takes artwork and puts a SpongeBob spin on it. And I hit him up when he did an album. We met him out in Virginia when we played there, and so we kind of knew it was coming. And when it came out, it was so good. I was like, hey, can we somehow print like an alt cover for it? And we thought we were gonna sell 10, 20. We ended up selling 55 of them.
Damn.
So we were like really happy. Like we realized too, we were disappointed. Like the cheat sheet for life is just we should have done more stuff with SpongeBob because apparently like
Clearly.
random people were buying it. So that was a project in and of itself. But I might print off some like what I try to do is keep it a run of one of 55, 2 of 55. But I might do some artist prints. Like so, if you do like screen prints and stuff, sometimes the artist will keep back some stock for themselves, and it'll be like a 1 of 5 artist proof. So we might do some artist proof for Furnace Fest, and I'm mulling over maybe another variant cover or something for Funeral Psalms. But
well, at the very least, it'd be cool if we got like a poster of it or something like that.
Yeah, well, we're gonna start. That's it. We let the wave of the excitement of Furnace Fest kind of wash over the last couple weeks, and now we're kind of getting into business mode of like what can we do to capitalize on that. So I don't know if it's like a poster or a variant cover that's specifically for Furnace Fest or something. But the cool thing too, and that's what I was gonna say, is like I'm trying to manifest it out into the internet. We're like getting really close to selling out of all of our Funeral Psalms vinyl, which Solid State obviously will never ever press those again. Because it's not in their best interest to do so monetarily. But we're like getting close to that run being gone. I think there's only like 15 or something of the splatter variant that exists. So those probably are going to disappear in the next couple of weeks because we might even buy them just so we have them rather than the Solid State. Not in a vindictive way, so don't take it the wrong way, but so we can sell those at shows. And then the 2-color one's actually running out too. So we're running low on those. So I wanted to be creative on what we do with the last couple from that. So.
For sure, man.
I love it. And one of the things that I love about this whole like Undertaking getting voted in and everything is because we're good friends with you. What's really cool is one of my dreams in life has always been to create a set list for a band that I love. And I don't know what it is, but I am like obsessed with like how bands order their songs and like what they do for interludes and how they even come out on stage and start
how long
sets
they give
and like
for
how they end
call.
sets. I'm obsessed with that. Like I think about all of that stuff all the time. And so I felt honored when you reached out to Cullen and I to chat about like, hey, what song should we play? Like what order should we do? And so Cullen and I had like pretty similar lists, I think. I think we both agreed.
Honored. You were so honored that I had to ask you twice to answer my question.
Okay, so I do have a caveat to say about that because my Facebook account was hacked like 3 months ago.
No.
Oh, you remember I was telling you this, Austin?
Yeah.
And so I can only get on if I like go through like a special like method on my desktop. I can't do it on my phone or anything. So I checked 3 days later and I'm like, oh shit, like here's Austin. He's like asking us about what we would want for a set list, and I felt like a dick because
here's the fun thing about that. One, I'm happy that you guys responded, but we're very much approaching Furnace Fest now as like this is so stupid to say, but we're like a band of the people. Like you guys voted for us to be there. So the irony of it is that we're probably going to play at like 11:45 in the morning and nobody's going to even have like showed up to the festival yet. So we're trying to make sure like we want to find out when we play so we can be like, hey, we're playing at this time. Like, please come. But the coolest thing for us is if we have 18 minutes to play, if we have 25, whatever, we're going to pack as many songs in as possible. And we're trying to kind of get people involved in that process. So I was asking a ton of people like, hey, we're playing 18 minutes. We're playing the toilet set behind the porta potties. They're hiding us off to the side. The sound guy's cutting our set short because he's grumpy already. Like, what songs do you want to hear? And just to kind of get a poll from different people, it's really fascinating because you have some people that lean more heavily towards funeral psalms. You have some people that are picking up on some of the superstition songs. There's been like a good mix of the two. And then the big theme. So one, you could go to Hate 56 when we were out in Philadelphia. Sonny
Mhm.
from Hate 56 showed up and he filmed one of our sets. It sounds terrible because we were in a basement packed with like 40 people. But it shows a little bit of the chaos of our set. That's like our set that we run out on tour often. And so we come out to an intro that's Timmy Trumpets, which is the song that the reliever from the Mets,
It's
Edwin Diaz,
perfect.
comes out to. But the
It
problem
fits
is,
so well.
no, I know, but guess what? Freaking Pierce the Veil used it on their recent tour. So
What?
we're
Like,
trying to be like, no, we used it first. Like they have no idea that we come out.
how did that happen? How is it
We
that
we found it on YouTube, like one of their recent sets, and Brent sent it out, and he was like, "Guys, I got bad news for you." But we
yeah.
loved it. We put our hands in the air and whatnot, and so then we usually start with
Hold
the
up,
pop.
hold up. How in the world does Pierce the Veil do the exact same intro song that's that obscure
Did
as
they
you
watch
Because
guys?
it's
the
a
Hate
good.
56 video or what?
No, it's because it's a good intro song. I
Yeah,
mean,
but like that's so obscure. Like that's not like something that just like anybody would do. I bet they ripped it off from you guys.
there is a 0% chance, but maybe I don't know.
I
But
think it's
That's
so we
not
got
a
to.
that's
zero
like
percent
that's like 2
chance.
bands coming out to an Undertaking song. That's how obscure that would be.
I know. Anyway, so but kind of
Yeah.
bizarre, and then also we're like, dang, like the bigger band used our idea, so we got to come up with an idea. But we have so many random ideas. Like we have a sample that's cut up of a speech from the movie Oblivion. Have you guys seen Oblivion
Oh
with
yeah,
Tom Cruise? Have you
Sounds
seen
that's
that
cool.
movie?
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the scene when he's talking about the football field, and
yeah.
he's like rookie wide receiver jumps out of the pack, touchdown. And it's like the theory behind that scene, if you want to Google it, Google Tom Cruise Oblivion football. The joke behind that scene is that people say that Tom Cruise has never watched a football game in his life. And so it's like Tom Cruise acting like he knows what football is, but we spliced it together with the Oblivion soundtrack. So that's one of the samples that we use behind stuff. And anyways, we're coming up with some silly
Pierce the Veil's
ideas
gonna
for
have that on their set list next week.
that's sketch. That's super sus. So but we're gonna probably try to pack like 8 songs in. So I don't talk often during our set. I'm not like a big talker. I'm not gonna talk about jacking off horses and get famous online like the 856 guy.
Also, how cool is it to have Hate 56 like do a show for you guys or do a video for you guys?
uh
Because that's
we were
street cred,
all
man. I don't care what anyone says. That's street cred
we
for
were all
sure.
Totally.
mildly unconscious because it smelled in the basement and it was so freaking hot. So like
And you
nobody
were wearing
we
like the heaviest coat
yeah.
possible down there.
I tried to keep it on the whole time and I couldn't do it. No, dude, that was like the cool. We had hit him up. The venue guy Ian had hit him up when we booked the show, and he was like, "Hey, I got that date open. I think it could happen." And then we never heard from him until the morning of the show. So we were driving from Baltimore to Philly, and Ian was like, "Hey, Sonny's coming," and all of us got like real nervous. Like, oh man, we gotta we gotta we gotta make sure we do a good job. The joke that I had is I run through like 3 rules before a set, and I'm like, "There's 3 rules to this venue because we're so tight in here. One, no farting." And then like a week later, after the show, is when the guy farted during the sleep token thing, and it like blew up online. And I was like, "Dang it! I should have encouraged you." Like,
You should have
nope,
said you have to fart.
you have
Everyone
to
eat a
fart.
pint of beans beforehand.
And then one of the guys, I don't know if you watched the set, but somebody busted out a cookie sheet and he was like moshing
Yes.
around, smacking
Yeah.
people with the cookie sheet. And then he hits the guy in the head and just breaks the cookie sheet in half and throws it on the ground. And you can see the Meadows boys were just like not having it. They're all just like hands up.
Like just blocking. Yeah. They
So
needed
that
their own
was,
cookie sheet to block
I
with.
know. So that was overwhelming in a way, but dude, the dude is just a professional and he just crushed it. He was in that basement for like 40 minutes, or I'm sorry, like 4 hours straight. And then the show's over and he pieces out. And we got to chat with him a little bit, but that guy moved so fast because he had to go home and like the 20 minutes later, our videos uploaded onto his like Vimeo and stuff. It was really cool and
That's too
means a
cool.
lot. So, I mean, we've had some really cool stuff, man. This year for us to be able to release the EP that we got to do, we got to tour the East Coast with Meadows and Empty, and then get the Hate 56 thing, get Furnace Fest. Like we got some really cool stuff that I feel like we're like gaining a little bit of traction, but we
Yeah.
still just need people to tell more people about us. And anyway, so this conversation started because of the set list, but that was really fun because just getting to ping people and say like, what songs do you want to hear? So we haven't played No Friends on the last like 2 or 3 tours. Kind of
What?
just one of those songs that's hard and it's not like it's a little bit more of a stand and plant song for the guitarist. And so just trying to get as much energy. But do you guys know Big Jeremy? I'll send him a picture. He's in one of the Furnace Fest promo photos from a couple years ago, but he's like 6'7" dude. We never met this guy, and we play El Corazon in Seattle 2 years ago, and all of a sudden this big Jeremy shows up, and like we start playing our set, and he knows every single word to our song, like our whole set. And it was one of these, like, I teared up a little bit on stage. I'm just like, we made it. One person knows our songs. This is like so cool. But he's going to be there. And I'm just starting to think like, okay, what songs do we have to play to get like Jeremy, to get Christian from Meadows, to get you guys, like get the songs that people know, that get people engaged and get people to sing along with us. And it's an opportunity for us to be like, okay, let's tuck our own personal like interests and ego behind like, oh, we don't want to play these songs anymore, and just say like, all right, give people what they want. And so we took it seriously when we were asking everybody what songs they wanted to hear. And it was cool to kind of get a litmus test. But
so what would you say are like the top 3 right now that that you've seen in almost every list?
Oh, interesting. Definitely No Friends, O Negative, and Everything Worked Out Just Fine. Kind of the big ones that everybody said. So those are obviously in it. But if we were to pick our set right now and play it, what we would do would be the Problem of Being Included in the Apocalypse. It's a good song to start out with. It's got like a 2-step, it's got a breakdown, and it's kind of a good like on ramp for us to kind of build up our energy because it ends heavy. And then we'll go straight into No Friends, and then we'll do O Negative, and then we'll do 2 songs off of the EP. We'll do Black Cats because that has a cool intro that's works within our set, and then A Witch's Deathbed Confession. And then on tour we ended with a 3-set little thing with Wrenches. The Nostalgia Can Be a Nasty Beast, and Everything Worked Out Just Fine. And those 3 songs like really flow together thematically, and we like don't take any breaks. So we're kind of the band that just for like 20 minutes we're just like hammering people with songs with a couple breaks and stuff. So we got to find out what our set is, but hopefully we can squeeze that into 20, 21, 22 minutes. And
I really
hope
have
to lose a song,
like a little extra time so you can squeeze in Plague, because that song is my all-time favorite of you guys.
And it's not going to happen, but
yeah, I kind of was wondering.
Here's my take on it. We have Take Me Down the River. We have Plague. There's a couple songs with choruses in them, and I'm not 100% confident in my ability to perform those songs like well enough to justify people's time. That's a weird way of saying like, I just like when we come out, the brand that we want from the Undertaking when people see us play live is chaotic, energetic. We're bouncing around, jumping around. And if I have to jump into a chorus, I'm going to have to stand and plant and really like work on my vocals to make sure they sound good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we've kind of just a while ago just said, okay, we're just playing songs that are like all gas, no breaks the entire time. And so those songs kind of just have fell to the wayside, because even for us as a band, like we're trying to keep our heart rates up. So we're engaged. And if we're engaged, we can pull in an audience because they're engaged. And when we play like River or Plague, when they have a little bit more of the ebbs and flows, like a good song, a good, well-written song has, it kind of kills our vibe. And then it's like when you're working out and you have to like stop to do something to like re-engage in that workout, like you gotta like kind of get the momentum going again. So there's some thought process behind it. If we ever do like a 10-year funeral songs thing like that, I will be so stoked to play some of those songs. But
sick.
Yeah,
I dig that.
We're looking forward to it. And also I just think like the chaotic nature of you guys' shows is going to be just like such a really great like breath of fresh air. You know, you get a lot of like the 2-step stuff, a lot of like just the kind of, you know, very rhythmic type of moshing type of music, obviously at Furnace Fest, and it's all great. But also to have like the super chaotic kind of chariot like of, you know, you never know what's going to happen at the show. You might be climbing rafters and who knows what's going to happen. Like that kind of shit is always super infectious. And even if it's just like 50 people, it's still going to be like one of the most memorable things for those 50 people. Whereas you could have like 500 people. And if it's just a regular ass set and nothing really cool happens, like nobody's even all 500 people won't remember that. But 50 people where it's just like the most memorable thing, I think that's even really that's way cooler to me than if you guys get like 500 people and it's just like a boring ass set.
Totally.
Well, man, I'm excited. It's going to be really fun, and we're going to have 20, 25 minutes, whatever, to go out and give it our best shot. And we'll like, we're exercising, we're practicing, like we're
Are you
we usually
exercising in front of the body length mirror?
no, that's the
Doing
worst.
all your like
Oh
cute little
no,
moves and everything?
no. Okay, no, Andy and then Tommy, the last two I listened to. I'm like Andy, man. I'm never gonna be the car screamer. I cannot do it. So we'll practice at our practice space, and that's where I go full because like my whole performance is very visceral. Like I'm a loud yeller. Like
It's visceral.
yeah, exactly.
I
That's
was gonna
yeah,
make the same
yeah.
joke. That was just too easy. Yeah.
uh, Yes, at one point in time, I was going to have a podcast called Viscerally Speaking, VISSER dash. Anyways, that idea fell to the wayside. Um, uh, I'm sorry for forgetting your name, but becoming the archetype, Jason.
Jason
Jason?
Wisdom?
Like he's a loud. I've heard you guys talk about how when he records, he's loud. Like I'm a
Yeah.
loud recorder. I'm a loud performer, and so I'm just like I can't perform and practice at my house because I'll scare my kids, and then I can't like do. I'm not. I refuse to practice in my car because I'm not going to be the dingus that somebody pulls up next to, and I'm just like, bro, I'm not going to do it. So we have to schedule time to practice, and that's how I kind of get my vocals ready to go. And then what we usually do, which we have a show planned with a band that's actually playing Furnace Fest. They're playing in San Diego, so we're hopping on a show with them.
Who's that?
Willhaven. I don't.
Oh yeah.
It's not announced yet. So sorry if I blew that one, but we got hit up to play that. But that'll be the show like a month before Furnace Fest where I like get off the stage and I almost vomit because I'm not in shape. And then I'm like, well, I have to run 5 miles a day now for the rest of the month to be able to do our set. So I'm like trying to be proactive and we're getting ready. So it's a whole process, man. We're a bunch of idiots and take this stuff way too seriously, but
No, I love it. I got to try to find a way to sneak a cookie sheet in so that
There
we can
you
make that
go.
like a thing.
I would love it.
Yeah, just can you hide it like in a guitar bag and then you can like throw it out to the crowd and like we can just have like cookie sheets everywhere?
Wait, I don't think I mentioned this last time, but the Ian, the kid who set up that show in Philly at some point, he hit us up before the show and he's like, "Hey, can I make this show a weapons show?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, weapons show. He's like, "Can we bring cookie sheets and 8-foot light bulbs, like fluorescent light bulbs, and smash them on each other?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds kind of dangerous." And he's like, "All right, rain check." Like he was, I think, expecting people in like the mosh pit to be taking these 8-foot fluorescent tubes and smashing them on each other. But then I'm thinking like
It's
we're
like
in
a
a
Gigi
basement.
Allen show or what?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like thinking we're in a basement in Philly, and then we're all gonna be like breathing in the dust that's in those fluorescent things. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, no, man, I don't think that's a good idea. But Furnace Fest doesn't allow that. They don't want no weapons and cookie
Have you
sheets.
guys seen that there's like this India's Got Talent? It's like one of those kind of shows. And
No.
there's like 60 of these Indian dudes, like these super buff Indian dudes, and they're like running around the stage and they break like thousands of these those long
Oh
fluorescent
no.
tube light
Yeah.
bulbs on each
Yeah.
other. And it's like their shtick. Like they're like
Is
like
it
a
like the
circus
Indian
act.
version of the Power Team?
That's
Basically,
funny.
it's what it's like. There's like one guy that's like eating them. There's one guy that's
Oh,
like
gross.
like putting them up all around his eyes and shit. And he's just like, ah, and it's like,
That stuff
what
is
is this?
that
This is
stuff
the
is
like
bad for
craziest
you.
piece of television I've ever seen.
Was it Knocked Up? I think it was Knocked Up, and like Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen are like smashing the tubes out in the trash can. I can't. There was
Yeah,
one of those Apatow movies from back in the day that they were doing that, and I always thought that was funny.
totally.
But anyways, yeah, point is Furnace Fest, man, we're stoked. I hope people show up, and if you're listening to this and you're like, man, get this jabroni off your podcast, like don't show up to our set, but if you're interested in some chaotic and fun stuff, man, show up and be entertained for 20-25 minutes or whatever they give us, and hopefully people engage and mosh and sing along and stage dive, and hopefully we have enough people to where it's fun. But
Will
I mean,
you stage dive?
yeah, I watch some of our videos, man, during wrenches, the
Well,
last
I
part in
know, but like
wrenches. I try
sometimes
to.
that people at fests, they sometimes go, well, I don't do it at festivals, and it's like, well, why not? Have fun, man.
We've never played to a big enough crowd to where it's warranted that. So there, if you watch like our Hate 5-6 video, I jump on people. There's a video from our show, our set in Birmingham, where we played the Firehouse down the street
Yeah.
from Sloss. And I like tell people like, come here, I'm going to jump on you. And I jump on like 20 people and they catch me and move me around and stuff. If you watch our music video that I put together, our buddy JP 92.
He's the man. We love
Yeah, shout out to JP.
No, his name, call him 92.
Oh, shout out to 92.
There you go. The JP doesn't exist. Just call him 92.
92. All right. I haven't heard that.
You can thank Stone from Meadows for that one. Call him 92. He filmed all of our shows on our run, and I put a compilation together. We put a music video out for Witch's Deathbed Confession, and you can notice in some of the videos that every time I would jump up, Armando and the Meadows dudes would start punching me. So like they're just constantly like jabbing me in the stomach. So there's like 4 guys like trying to hold me up while the Meadows crew is just like underneath me, like trying to punch me. And there's one video, I think it was Richmond, where you see me grab Armando's arm and I just punch him in the face like 3 times. I took it a little too far. I had to apologize afterwards.
So they're basically doing like the Rocky IV training sequence on you, and you're like, no, you're Ivan Drago.
Yeah, exactly. But you see in the video, I grab his arm because he's trying to punch me, and I just like sock him in the face a couple times. But it's all good fun. I felt bad.
You're a good dad. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, if you get a cool enough to stage dive, who knows? Maybe it'll go viral on some guitars account or whatever, Guitars World or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
You never know. Hey, Cullen, you won the bet. You said how long it would take for Mason to bring up his references stage dive at first.
I told you.
And I had the over 42.5 minutes. You had the under, so you won.
Just barely. Just barely.
All right. Should we do our little, I don't know if it's not really top 5, but just kind of like an assortment of categories of artists for you. We mentioned really quickly about like most hated artists. Do you have any most hated artists, Austin?
I don't have any most hated. I do not like country music. So I work with a guy, he's a carpenter, and he says there's two types of music in this world, Austin. He always says, he said country and Western. That's his thing. His other thing is if you're like, hey, you're talking, and he's like, man, some people say that you're a nice guy, Austin, and other people tell the truth. He's got all these sayings.
Are there any country artists in particular where you're like, really can't stand those guys?
No, because I don't listen to country at all. So I literally can't tell you like the difference between Daughtry and
Daughtry? Is Daughtry country?
Is he country? I don't know. No,
I thought he was like radio rock.
No, I can't even. It's Chris Stapleton and the Georgia Florida line or whatever. Like I'm not. That's just not my thing.
So just the entire genre of country.
Zero country. You're talking like pop country, or are you just talking about country in general? If it sounds anything like country, if it has a fiddle and or a banjo and or a slide guitar, you're out. Is that what you're saying?
That's complicated because I try to respect music as much as possible. So that's not like, it's not like an ultimatum. Just, you got your country western radio station. That's just not going to be my jam. I used to listen to like Johnny Cash and stuff, and Rustin Kelly's like he dips his toe into some country stuff. Like I love that, but I don't know. It was never my jam. The whole like drinking beers on a Tuesday night, got my Chevy truck driving down with no headlights. Like that's just not my thing.
That's pretty good. Sounds like you have listened to country once or twice.
Good thing you're not from the real SD, South Dakota.
That's right.
Yeah, that's not my thing.
Mason and I used to call it country music. It was like how we labeled it.
That's right. All right. So
my other one too. Sorry to interrupt. I am very much out on the like new metal resurgence that's happening because it's like this whole thing where like the clothes that I wore in the 90s when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like they're coming back now, and I'm like, no, baggy pants are out. Like, don't bring them back.
You're not bringing that back.
You want to stick with the skinny jeans, is what you're saying.
I like my skinny jeans, but it's just like, no, this fashion statement is out. Let's not bring it back. And then new metal, it's like, it's out. Let's not bring it back. But I've lost that battle. It's very much back in, and I'm okay with it.
There's some really good shit, though. All right. So the whole genre of country You're not a fan of. All right, so that's most hated. But we talked to Tommy Green recently about kind of an interesting category to think about, and that is a band on paper that you should like, but you just can't quite get into for some reason. So, are there any bands like that?
how I don't want to make people mad.
Well,
No,
it's
that's
not
not
that you
making
don't.
mad
It's
because
not
it's
like
saying
you don't
like
like the band. You just like
generally
can't
I
get
should
into 'em.
like you, but I just
Meadows,
it's not
Fall
my
Star, The Ongoing Concept,
all of your
Lightworker.
friends.
I typically am out on like the more popular stuff. Like I will not get into Sleep Token. That's just not
Mm.
that's not it.
You know,
It's not it, guys.
I've yet to hear like a true on true metal genre fan, or not fan, but artist say that they are a fan of Sleep Token.
They're out there. I just like I can't do it. I can't get
Yeah.
into it. It's like The Weeknd had a baby with a new metal band, and uh, not my thing. Well, uh, so I started to do a deep dive on Furnace Fest stuff and all the bands. So I'm trying to like listen to it just so I kind of know, which is really fascinating because the lineup that they curate is just like so insane. The different styles, the different artists that they get involved. Like props to Johnny and Chad and everybody, Mike and everybody that's involved in booking bands, because I'm so impressed at the different styles, the different artists, and everything that they have is just the coolest thing ever. So I start getting into some of this stuff, and I'm like, man, I just completely missed this. And so I'm starting to realize that on paper I should like these type of bands, but I'm just out. So like, if you listen to this and you're in this band or you appreciate these bands, don't judge me. That's just not my thing. The Emerys, the Amber Lyns, the like Hope Falls, a little bit of that like emo-y post hardcore was just something when that came out in what, like 2003, 4, 5, 6, that I just at some point when I was like a teenager, I just decided that was very much not what I was listening to. And I went more like hardcore, like Bury Your Dead, Evergreen Terrace. And so that stuff wasn't hard enough. And so I'm going through now and listening to Amber Lynn, and we saw Emery last year. And there's just a lot of bands like that I'm like, one, I'm like trying to open myself up to and say like, okay, give these guys a shot. Amber Lynn, like really cool band, like really talented and cool songs. Casey was another one that I didn't listen to, like super rad band. So I was showing the Undertaking guys on Monday night of this week. I was like, dude, check out Casey. They're amazing. Like, how did I miss these guys? But like on paper, I should have loved them back in the day. Tooth and Nail played. Some of these bands were involved in like the Christian culture. I was like a youth group kid, and it's just not one of those things that I adapted to. So, anyways, that's my long-winded answer of that. Like on paper, like the emo / post-hardcore kind of vibe, like definitely should have been in my wheelhouse that I just like never got into. And so, shout out Kingdom Core. Sean was giving me a hard time. He's like, "Man, you missed out on like a lot of good music." And I'm like, "I know, I got a lot of blind spots in my music history." So I'm trying to rectify that and go through a lot of those bands and
that's good honesty. I've had a little thought about this for a while. How much of that do you think was because of the band's name? Because there's some band names where I'm just like, no, I'm not even going to give you a chance in the first place because I hate your band name. Like the Undertaking, beautiful name. I was gonna say, beautiful name, great name. It makes me want to listen right away. A band name like Tool, though, like I didn't listen to Tool for the longest time because I was like, that's the stupidest name for a band I've ever heard. So, do you think that part of it was maybe about like band names?
No, I don't think so. How old are you, Mason?
I'm 30.
Cullen. Mason, how are you? 30 and
I'm about to turn 29.
Oh, you guys are children. No, I'm kidding. I'm 36. So like Tool, that was new metal-ish stuff. That was in my wheelhouse. So like I understand you were like a little bit younger than me. I could see how you were like, yeah, I'm not going to get into them. So Schism and all that kind of stuff. That was like our jam back in the day.
Oh yeah, totally. I love Tool now, but like it took me a long time to get into them just because I never listened to them because I hated the band name.
What the bands? Oh, interesting. That's a fascinating concept. It's not necessarily the band name, but like a band like 9 Inch Nails. I very much equated them to like Korn and Tool and more stuff like that. And then when Trent Reznor started doing movie soundtracks with like Social Network and some of that stuff, I like started to get into his music, and I went back and listened to 9 Inch Nails, and I did not realize that they were like really really sick.
Yeah.
And so part of it was like the songs that were the popular in the mid 90s. I was like a sheltered Christian kid and said, I want to be like an animal. Like I'm not like I wasn't like supposed to listen to that stuff. So it was like, oh, I can't listen to Nine Inch Nails. And it's like the Christian kids that weren't allowed to watch like The Simpsons back in the day or Seinfeld.
Totally.
And now as an adult, you're like, what? This is really funny. And so I listened to Nine Inch Nails and I was like, oh, that was a band I didn't get into. That's really good. Like it's cool stuff.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, I've got a whole plethora of bands and other media that I didn't get to look at or watch or listen to because of Christian upbringing,
My sister had a Rage Against the Machine tape cassette, and my mom found it. My sister was older than me, but my mom found it and snapped it in half. And then I had an Eminem Encore or whatever the album was, and my mom put it on, and it showed up on the kitchen table later, snapped in half. So my mom she was like, she's not strict, and she like loved pop music and loved like that kind of stuff. It was just funny what like would take her to snap, but obviously Eminem for like a 12-year-old kid was like the breaking point.
She's like, Austin, have you never listened to KJ52?
She's like, who's that? Dude, my mom did this exact same thing. My sister had like this whole binder full of CDs, and it was like Eminem and Chingy and
oh wait, how old is your sister?
She's 35.
Yeah,
okay,
about Austin's age, yeah.
The biggest regret I've made in my life is I threw away my binder of my Napster CD compilations.
Oh, no.
So that gives me PTSD because, man, I had like the sickest, you even listing out, what did you say, Chingy and like.
Yeah, Chingy, like so Millionaire.
No, but it was
Jay-Z.
like rap. Yeah, no, but it was like whatever you could get on Napster and you just throw it on a CD. So it'd be like Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Chiggy and then Kid Rock and like Metallica, but then they'd all be at different levels because the Napster files were all just, like, totally jacked.
Or they were like recorded directly from radio.
Yeah.
And so like you would sometimes like hear like the rewind sound, like the fast forward sound. I had like the entire Metallica discography that I gotten off of LimeWire growing up.
Yeah.
And everything was like sped up or slowed down at some point throughout the song. So it was almost unlistenable.
When you would find a pristine copy of something, you'd just be like, yeah,
this is gold.
It wasn't porn. It wasn't like there was no
no virus
watermark on it that was like in the middle of the song. It was like, you're listening to GJ 50.
Yeah.
Those were the days. I still have one back at my parents' house, a CD compilation, and it included like Emery, Blink 182. I'm trying to think of some of the others. I think there's some like Reliant K songs on there. I mean, basically anything from like 2003 and 2004 that I was really into. But yeah, I mean, it might even had like a Me Without You song or two, but it was kind of like that era.
That's a good one. Reliant K, on paper, Christian kid, grew up in the church. Not my thing. Never got into them. Never listened to them.
It's funny because all these bands that you've talked about, we're literally going to have on in the next couple weeks.
Right. Oh, I love that.
That's what happens.
We'll
let them know that the band that got voted into Furnace Fest is not a fan of you.
Hates everybody.
Yeah. We're gonna have Hopes Fall on Thursday. We've got.
Oh, you cut out there. We got Hopes Fall coming up. We've got Reliant K coming up. Hopefully we can get Norma Jean on soon, but I'm sure we'll interview Emery at some point again. But yeah, we've got some of those bands that we'll be interviewing soon.
That's my goal now, is just to create as much beef as possible with them.
I hope so.
No, I mean, that's the irony of it. And I've said this before on your guys' podcast, on other podcasts, that like, man, I have like just massive respect for anybody that creates anything, because it is so hard to do anything. So
Mason creates some very big poops and clogs toilets all the time. Do you have respect
congratulations on that? But dude, anybody that puts out a song, like, they poured something into it and made something. And so it's just this whole thing where like it's talking about like movies and music and stuff. Everything's so subjective in the sense of what resonates with me and what I listened to as like a kid, as a teenager, as an adult. And there's just certain ones that you're just like, man, I missed that. We came as Romans in that kind of core, the metalcore stuff that happened in like 2009 to 2014. That is just such a blank spot in my metalcore scene discography.
Well, honestly,
of what
I
I've
think
listened to.
metalcore at that time wasn't like particularly good. Like there weren't
Yeah.
even the bands that were good were mostly like on hiatus or whatever. And yeah, that like time frame I always thought wasn't like particularly great.
But I had just gotten married. Like we were definitely more into like the Vampire Weekend not Dashboard, Death Cab for Cutie.
Dude,
Like
who wasn't? Who wasn't at
I,
that time
but
though?
but then I was like, kind of like, oh, I'm gonna put metalcore behind me. Like I'm an adult now. Like so. Anyways,
And now look at you. You started your own band where you do
and,
all those things.
and 10 people like us.
That's right.
Hey, you know what? It's
Hey,
10 more than us.
that's right. And 20%
You
of
guys,
them are looking at you right now.
We love you guys.
Austin, it's been so great to chat with you. You're such a good friend. And yeah, we're less than 3 months away now from giving you a big old bear hug and then punching you while you stage dive on us.
Please don't punch me. I take warfarin. I will maybe bleed to death internally and die. So don't punch me in the head.
note to self. Note to self.
I'll remind you again before the show.
All right. We'll end it there. Boom.